All right, let's dive right into the battlefield of modern finance. We're talking about artificial intelligence and how it's become both the ultimate weapon and the most advanced shield. So let's just cut right to the chase, because the big question for all of us is this. Is the very same technology that's supposed to be our own personal financial whiz also the single biggest threat to our savings? Friend or foe? And here it is, the two sides of the coin, laid out plain and simple. On the one hand, you've got the promise, smarter investing, services that actually know you, and way better security. But on the other hand, oh man, you've got supercharged fraud, attacks that run themselves, and risks to the entire system. It is the classic double-edged sword. So first, we gotta look at the dark side of this whole thing. How exactly are criminals using AI to get a serious and, honestly, a pretty terrifying upgrade? You know, it really just boils down to three things: speed, scale, and sophistication. AI makes creating malware faster. It automates all the tedious stuff that used to take human attackers hours or even days, and it just layers in this crazy level of complexity that makes these attacks so much harder to spot. And listen, this is not just some theory. This is happening right now. Take a look at Zenware. It's considered the very first ransomware that was actually built by an AI. I mean, think about that. It's like a digital predator that can lock down a whole bunch of systems all at once, moving way faster than any human could ever code by hand. And then there's this thing called lame hug. The easiest way to think of it is as a data thief that has its own brain. It uses large language models, the same kind of tech behind things like ChatGPT, to basically think on its feet. So instead of using the same old predictable commands, it just makes up new ones as it goes, totally sidestepping security systems that are looking for old patterns. It's adaptable, it's smart, and it's a huge problem. So what's the big picture here? What's the takeaway? AI is literally industrializing cybercrime. It's building a completely automated pipeline. You have one AI pumping out thousands of unique malware versions, another AI scanning the globe to pick the absolute best targets, and then you've even got an AI chatbot to handle the ransom negotiations. Hacking isn't a manual craft anymore. It's a scalable, automated, and terrifyingly efficient business. Okay, so that's the threat. It's pretty scary. So how in the world do you fight back against something that's automated? Well, the financial industry knows it can't just be about tech. It has to start by building a brand new rulebook, one that's all about people, policies, and some really strict governance. The core philosophy behind this new playbook is incredibly strict, but it's also simple. It's what's called a whitelist approach. Basically, the default answer to any new AI tool or application is no. It is prohibited by default, and it stays prohibited until it can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's safe, secure, and compliant. Nothing gets through the gates by accident. And this huge responsibility isn't just left to a single team. Nope, it's layered. Think of it like this. The first line of defense is the business units themselves, the people on the ground doing the day-to-day risk checks. The second line is the risk and compliance departments. They're the overseers. And then the third line, internal audit, comes in to provide a totally independent check to make sure the whole system is actually working the way it's supposed to. Now, within that whole structure, there are some absolutely non-negotiable red lines. The first, and maybe the most important, is your data. Customer data privacy. The rules here are absolute. You cannot use customer data for training AI without explicit permission, period. You can't send it to outside services, and all personal info has to be stripped out. This is the foundation of trust. The other red lines are just as critical. You can't let an AI model produce discriminatory outcomes, like creating a biased loan approval system. That's a huge no. You also can't use AI as some kind of excuse to weaken the really important stuff, like anti-money laundering checks. And maybe most importantly, every single decision an AI makes, it has to be documented and ready for regulators to look at anytime. Okay, so rules and governance are one thing, but that's only half the battle, right? You can't bring a policy to a code fight. To really go toe-to-toe with an AI-powered threat, the industry is now turning that very same weapon into a shield. Now, this fight is happening on two really critical fronts. First, you have AI for security. That's using AI as your digital bloodhound to hunt for threats and automate your defenses. But just as important is security for AI. That's all about protecting the bank's own AI models from getting hacked, manipulated, or poisoned. You absolutely have to win on both of these fronts. And the payoff for using AI as a defender? It's huge. Automating security responses with AI can boost operational efficiency by as much as 40%. Now, what that really means is you're detecting threats faster, responding quicker, and freeing up your human experts to focus on the really complex problems. So, how do you actually handle that second front, protecting your own AI? Well, it takes a defense that has a lot of layers. You have to lock down the data it learns from, the infrastructure it runs on, the AI model itself, and of course, the final application the customer uses. It really is like a castle. If you have a single weak wall, the whole thing can come tumbling down. So what does that look like in practice? Well, you're basically building a digital fortress with a bunch of technical guardrails. You use techniques like RAG to keep the AI grounded in facts so it doesn't just make stuff up. You have filters on the way in and the way out, automatically blocking malicious commands and stripping out sensitive data. And you have real-time monitoring that's constantly watching for anything weird, ready to shut the whole thing down in an instant if it needs to. So, after all that, what does this all add up to? Well, it's not a problem with some simple one-and-done solution. What we've entered is a new reality for financial security. It's a never-ending arms race. You know, one of the sources we looked at for this explainer put it perfectly, and I really can't say it any better myself. They said, artificial intelligence is like a rocket booster for cybercriminals. It just perfectly captures the unprecedented speed and power that AI gives them. And the ultimate result of that rocket booster is that things that used to be isolated, manual crimes have now been completely transformed. It's an automated, industrial-scale business model. We're not just fighting individual hackers anymore. We are fighting a threat-as-a-service industry. Which, of course, leaves us with one final and really crucial question. As the attackers get smarter and the defenders get stronger, both sides powered by the exact same technology, who is actually winning this arms race? And what happens if one side finally gets a definitive edge? That's the question that's going to define the future of our financial world.